I'm Don Ma. U.S.-China TikTok deal getting final approval. President Trump explains what came out of his phone call with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. A federal judge throws out Donald Trump's defamation lawsuit against the New York Times. The president has 28 days to amend the suit. President Trump asks the Supreme Court to allow the Department of State to stop issuing passports with X-sex designations. The dispute follows Trump's Inauguration Day executive order directing the government to recognize only male and female. The Senate rejects a government funding stopgap bill after the House approves. Are we headed toward a government shutdown? Free speech versus hate speech. Where to draw the line? The First Amendment in the spotlight following Jimmy Kimmel's controversial comments about Charlie Kirk's assassin. We have the latest.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. The TikTok deal between the U.S. and Communist China has gotten a final approval, and the president will meet with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping later this year. Trump says he had a very productive phone call with Xi earlier this morning and suggested they approve the TikTok deal. Under the deal, the Chinese-owned social media platform would transfer its U.S. assets to U.S. buyers. This would keep it operational in the U.S. The buyers are still unclear. Trump says he and Xi made progress on many very different issues, including very important issues, including trade, fentanyl, and the war in Ukraine. Trump also says he will meet Xi in person at the APEC summit in South Korea this year from October 31st to November 1st. Early next year, the president will visit China and have Xi visit the U.S. at another time. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announced a $10 billion deal with Taiwan to buy American farm products over the next 4 years. Rollins took to X to announce what she called a trade win. Rollins said Taiwan would purchase soybeans, corn, wheat, and beef, among other products. The Agriculture Secretary called the deal, quote, a game changer for our farmers and ranchers. America's producers are back on offense and leading the world again. Earlier this week, Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Jim Risch met with Taiwan's Minister of Agriculture. The Idaho lawmaker said they discussed opportunities to increase trade between his state and Taiwan. Taiwan is a major buyer of Idaho's agricultural products. During his trip to the UK, President Trump sat down for an interview with Fox News in London. Trump said China and India could put financial pressure on Russia by stopping purchases of Russian oil. That would help lead to an end to the war in Ukraine. Here's the president taking questions from Fox News anchor Martha McCallum.
Very disappointed when they say sanctions. I don't mind sanctions, but when I do sanctions and people are buying oil from a person they shouldn't be buying oil from,
I saw your post
it makes it much different.
You said you go first on China. Yeah. You said we're doing sanctions 50% against India because they're the biggest or second biggest buyer of Russian oil.
And we did that, and that's a big step.
So when you talked to Starmer, did you say, let's get everyone on board? If you guys do sanctions on India and China, then we'll do that too.
Well, if they did sanctions as an example, or tariffs, or whatever you want to call it, if they did that on China, I think the war would maybe end because China is by far the biggest purchaser of oil from Russia.
The head of Britain's Foreign Intelligence Agency says there's no evidence that Russia's President Putin wants to negotiate peace in Ukraine. The comments came in a speech today by Richard Moore, chief of the Secret Service MI6. Here he is.
In recent weeks, Russia has stepped up its attacks on civilian targets still further. And there can be no equivalence between the suffering of the aggressor and the victim, but it's absolutely clear that Putin's lack of concern for human life extends also to his own people.
Moore says Putin seeks to impose his imperial will by all means at his disposal. But the spy chief says Russia simply does not have the ability to fully subjugate Ukraine by force. Moore says even if Russia is grinding forward on the battlefield, it is at a snail's pace and at a horrendous cost. Moore says the Russian leader is mortgaging his country's future for his own personal legacy. and for what he called a distorted version of history. Moore was speaking at the British consulate in Istanbul after 5 years as head of MI6. He leaves the post at the end of September. A federal judge has thrown out President Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times over its content. The judge called the suit, quote, decidedly improper. U.S. District Judge Stephen Merriday in Florida said Trump's complaint violated civil procedure requiring a short and plain statement of why he should win. Trump's lawsuit named a book and an article written by New York Times reporters. They focused on Trump's finances and his starring role in the Apprentice TV program. Trump also cited in the suit an article by Peter Baker last year, headlined, "For Trump, a lifetime of scandals heads toward a moment of judgment." Merriday gave Trump 28 days to file an amended complaint of no more than 40 pages. The Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to uphold its passport policy requiring male or female sex designations be consistent with birth certificates. The Justice Department appealed a lower court order allowing the use of an X identification marker that aligns with the holder's gender identity. The State Department argues it can't be required to use sex designations it considers inaccurate on official documents. President Donald Trump issued an executive order in January declaring the United States would recognize two sexes, male and female. A judge blocked the new policy in June after transgender and non-binary plaintiffs challenged it in court. The Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to put the judge's order on hold while the case continues. The Dutch parliament has adopted a motion from opposition leader Geert Wilders to classify Antifa as a terrorist organization. The motion comes after President Trump recently announced the same designation. Wilders says Antifa cells are active in the Netherlands. He accuses them of threatening politicians, disrupting meetings, and intimidating journalists and students. With the motion now passed, the Dutch government is required to issue a formal response. If enacted, the designation could expand law enforcement authority to monitor and prosecute individuals linked to Antifa-related activity. The government's decision is expected in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, Hungary is making a similar move. Prime Minister Viktor Orban said today he will also designate Antifa a terrorist organization. Orban says he is pleased by Trump's announcement. He referenced a 2023 incident in which Antifa assaulted several participants at a right-wing event in Budapest. An Antifa supporter from Italy, Ilaria Salis, was jailed in Hungary for over a year for the incident. Salis later won a seat in the European Parliament, granting her legal immunity. President Trump and China's leader Xi Jinping joined a call to finalize a TikTok deal. Joining us now to discuss this is Casey Fleming, Chairman and CEO of Black Ops Partners Corporation, and we have Morris Tan, former U.S. Ambassador at Large for the Office of Global Criminal Justice and former Dean of Liberty University School of Law. So first of all, good afternoon to you, both. Casey, can I start with you? Can we get your reactions to this potential deal here?
The TikTok deal, with all of my experience, it says it's a no deal. You have to understand who the Chinese Communist Party is, what their laws are from years ago, saying that all data, intellectual property, must be turned over to the Chinese Communist Party for national security reasons. Therefore, that extends to all their apps, all their technology outside of the Chinese borders. So from a technology standpoint, you cannot separate all the millions of lines of code and basically say, yeah, we're just going to turn this over to the United States and keep their data inside the United States and so on. So at a minimum, TikTok is a weaponized military application. It's a Trojan horse in the hands of all of our children. What that means is it's for espionage and it's for cognitive warfare. That will never change. And there's an old saying, if the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping's mouth is moving, they're telling a lie. We've been played by these guys for way too long. There you go.
Okay, Ambassador Tan, can I get your reactions as well? Casey has made some great points. How can we be certain that servers in China won't still have backdoor access to American user data?
No, I think there are cybersecurity risks. This is why in the first Trump administration, TikTok was outright banned, because there was concern that it could be used by the CCP to identify the exact coordinates, for example, of our soldiers in the U.S. And so there would have to be extensive cybersecurity measures that would have to be in place, because you have civil-military fusion in the Chinese Communist Party, where anything that's used, it's not like the U.S. business-governmental relationship. Anything in the civil realm, including businesses, can be used and can be weaponized by the Chinese Communist Party. That is their doctrine. That is their modus operandi. So it's very important, if this were to move forward, to be able to safeguard against all those things, and for there to be enough of a controlling interest in it and enough technological expertise to try to block any attempt to be able to engage in malign activities through TikTok USA, which is what it would become if it moves forward.
Okay, Casey, if President Trump is determined to move forward down this path with the deal with TikTok, is there a way where there would be absolutely no security concerns?
Zero. Technology, yeah, as the other gentleman mentioned, it is the Chinese Communist Party's operational plan. It's their doctrine to weaponize everything against the free world, including the United States. So it's a communist totalitarian regime at war with the United States. Why would you ever think about allowing some type of app or technology to linger on, and especially in the hands of our children, our military, our young adults? I mean, you get facial recognition, you get retinal scans, you get geolocation of all the pictures, all the videos, all the texts, the emails, everything. Why would you give that power to an enemy? And again, from a technology perspective, and I've got a few years in technology and in cyber, there's no way to get that done. Today, everything can be masked, everything can be redirected, and it's a no-go. So the only way around this is to create a new application in the United States, managed in the United States, and it doesn't leave any servers that are located in the United States. Back to you.
So, Ambassador Tan, would you be able to comment in light of this pursuit for a deal? Can you talk to us about U.S.-China relations at this moment?
Well, there have not been extensive communications between Xi and Trump. I believe this was the second time there's been direct communications, and there have been 4 working group meetings at lower levels, is my understanding. They are talking about meeting at the APEC meeting in South Korea at the end of October and the beginning of November, meeting at that meeting for President Trump to go meet Chairman Xi in China, and then for Chairman Xi to come back to the U.S. To meet with President Trump at, quote, an appropriate time. And so this is in the midst of tariff tensions. This is in the midst of tensions in regards to drugs coming, especially fentanyl, which has killed many Americans. This is in the midst of tensions in Asia, whether it's over the possibility of an invasion of Taiwan or other Asian neighbors in the South China Sea. This is in the midst of a situation where China has been propping up North Korea and has been engaged in gray zone warfare, hybrid warfare against South Korea. And a lot of people don't realize how extensive and how, frankly, successful the CCP has been in their hybrid warfare against South Korea, our longtime ally and very important ally.
So, Casey, I can't help but wonder, because Beijing is, playing a part in this deal. It seems like it's willing to go forward on this. What does China get out of it?
Beijing will always play the United States. They've been playing us for 50 years. It will not change. They will tell us what they think we want to hear. We will take what we think we want to hear from the Chinese Communist Party, but they have no intention of giving any ground to the United States or the free world. They are in an absolute war. It's called unrestricted war. Other people call it hybrid war. It's been going on around the world, as Ambassador Tan mentioned as well. They are continuing to play the United States. And don't forget, 3 weeks ago, they hosted the Axis nations, which is China. CCP is the grand puppeteer. Underneath them, Russia, Iran, Pakistan, North Korea, Brazil, and underneath Iran are the terrorist organizations, again, with the CCP being the grand puppeteer. I'll say it again. If the CCP's mouth is moving, Xi Jinping, they're lying and they're playing us. When are we going to wake up?
Okay, Ambassador Tan, do you think, in your view, the U.S. should, at the very least, attach some form of conditions relating to human rights, right, in this potential deal with TikTok, with China?
I think human rights should be viewed as the most important difference between the United States of America and the CCP as well. So basically, in a war of whose values are better, whose moral standards and compass is better, whose respect for human rights is better, it's not even close, which is why when I served as Ambassador at Large for Global Criminal Justice, probably the most important thing we did was the mass atrocity determinations for crimes against humanity and genocide that the CCP has committed against Uyghurs and other Turkic minorities in Xinjiang province, but it's not limited to that one location or that one group. They have engaged in all sorts of human rights violations, not only within China, but outside as well.
So, Casey, I want to understand, I want to make it clear here. Are you saying that even with this deal, security concerns would be exactly the same as before? Or perhaps it would be, there will be security concerns, but it'll be less than before? Which one are you saying?
More security concerns. It's something that, we've got to totally get behind. Again, the CCP is not to be trusted. They formed a global Axis alliance of aggressors to take over the free world. We're seeing it in Ukraine. We're seeing it in the Middle East. We're seeing it all over the place. So it is something that it's very serious. I think we're at a junction right now of moving forward. Ambassador Tan is 100% correct. The difference in our values are the human rights piece of it. And it's not just the atrocities towards the Uyghurs, the Tibetans, and the Falun Gong. We need to get also into the forced human organ harvesting, which another word for that is murder. Those are all things that basically invalidates the Chinese Communist Party. If we can continue to hammer on human rights violations, which they are experts in, we will, over time, the free world will say, hey, we don't want to do business with these people. They're harming other human beings. And so calling that piece of it out is very embarrassing to the Chinese Communist Party. And to Ambassador Tan's credit, that's absolutely what needs to happen.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much time here. Ambassador, if you have any final thoughts.
Yes, I completely agree with that. It's so brazen that Xi Jinping and Putin were talking about having immortal lives through organ transplantation. There is massive medical tourism, as it's called, going into China for organ transplants. Why? Because they engage in widespread murder, that is the correct word, to harvest fresh organs to be transplanted. And people come in from all over the world, and even Putin now is getting in the act saying, oh yeah, Xi, you and I will live forever through organ transplantation. And now there are reports that this is even happening by Chinese operatives in South Korea, believe it or not. So this is very real, and they were even talking about it publicly At the military parade that was held in China recently, that Putin and Kim Jong-un and let me also point out the third-ranking person from South Korea also attended. And this is something where people need to wake up, I think, as Casey is so forcefully articulating, that they are trying to take over the world. They are trying to eliminate the U.S. as the lone superpower in the world and to replace the U.S. along these lines. And they will use all means to increase their power, to decrease the U.S. power, and to elbow the U.S. out as the lone superpower. That is their public goal. They have declared a people's war on the United States. They are engaged in this war worldwide. And the sooner people realize that these cartoonish sounding descriptions are actually true about the CCP, the better.
Okay, quickly, Ambassador Tan, before we wrap up here, you meant North Korea, right? How strong is the relationship between China, North Korea, and Russia right now?
So about half the ammunition that Russia is using comes from North Korea nowadays. And Russia reportedly gave maybe something to the tune of $9–10 billion to North Korea. And China, over 90% of the economic interaction that North Korea has generally had has been with China. And so it is crucial. We're talking about number 2, 3, and 4 militaries in the world. The North Korean military being the number 4, and China and Russia being number 2 and number 3. U.S., of course, being number 1. And let me note that South Korea is number 5. So you have the 5 largest militaries in the world that are concentrated there in Northeast Asia and those who are involved in Northeast Asia. And so what is going on, if we are not careful and if things do not go well, can actually become World War III.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you, Ambassador Tan and Casey, for shedding a very important light on this issue. We appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
House lawmakers this morning approved a 7-week extension of government funding to avert a shutdown. Democrats have vowed to oppose the GOP proposal as it makes its way to the Senate. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Brady. When I was born, my parents thought everything was okay. My mom and dad were so excited to take me home.
I still get goosebumps telling this story. Several days in, his skin started to become very cold and clammy. We noticed that he had become blue around his mouth, and something was just very off.
We packed up as fast as we could. Brady stopped breathing twice on the way to the pediatrician. And that was one of the #1 things that just haunts me to this day.
I was born with a congenital heart defect called aortic coarctation. If my parents waited just 1 more hour to drive me to the hospital, I would not be here today. But thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association, I had heart surgery that saved my life. But not every kid is as lucky as me, which is why we need your help. Just call the number on the screen or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help. Get people trained in CPR. Get more hospitals certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. And help fund the next medical breakthroughs to help save kids like me.
When you donate to the American Heart Association, you're helping save lives like my son. And now, my son is happy and healthy, thanks to the support of people like you.
When you call with your $19 a month, you'll get this really cool t-shirt as a thank you. Many children die from congenital heart defects. I can't wait to grow up to become a heart surgeon and fix babies' hearts, but until then, I'll keep helping the American Heart Association. So please join me. Just call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org to become a monthly donor and help save lives.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural, organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure, natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
A major upset for House Republicans as they work to avert a government shutdown. Their Senate counterparts just rejected 2 stopgap government funding bills. In a vote of 44 to 48, senators rejected the continuing resolution passed by the House hours earlier. 2 Republicans voted no, and 8 Republicans didn't vote, actually. In a separate vote of 47 to 45, senators also rejected the Democrats' proposal. 7 Republicans didn't vote. Both measures required 60 votes to pass. Senate Majority Leader John Thune entered a motion to reconsider. The continuing resolution passed by the House would have extended government funding by 7 weeks. It also comes with around $90 million to ramp up security for lawmakers following Charlie Kirk's assassination. Lawmakers have until September 30th to approve a funding measure to avert a government shutdown. The U.S. House has passed a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk in a bipartisan vote. In a 310 to 58 vote, nearly 100 Democrats joined Republicans to adopt the measure. Speaker Mike Johnson introduced the resolution. It condemns the murder last week and praises Kirk as a courageous American patriot who boldly lived out his faith with conviction, courage, and compassion. The resolution also calls upon all Americans to reject political violence, recommit to respectful debate, and uphold American values. And Senate Republicans have fast-tracked dozens of President Trump's nominees, confirming 48 in a single vote. The vote came after Republicans invoked a new ruling allowing an expedited process. It allows the nominees to be considered as a group instead of individually. Republicans argued it was necessary to clear a backlog of stalled nominees over the objections of Democrats. Several national security-related positions were among those confirmed, as well as the ambassadors to Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Greece. One of the most watched gubernatorial races this year is underway. Early voting starts today in Virginia. Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin is term limited. He is supporting his Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears as the Republican nominee. She is facing off with former Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger. Either way, Virginia will see its first female governor this year. Virginia residents also vote for the offices of the Lieutenant Governor and the Attorney General, all independently. All 3 statewide offices are currently held by Republicans. All 100 seats in the House of Delegates are up for grabs as well. Democrats currently have a 51 to 49 majority. Changes in kids' vaccines could be on the way. A CDC vaccine advisory panel has voted 8-3 to stop recommending the MMRV vaccine for children under age 4. The MMRV shot combines protection against measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox. The panel recommends using the standard MMR vaccine instead, with a second shot for chickenpox. Studies have shown the MMR vaccine carries a higher risk of fever and seizures in young children. Dr. Robert Malone withdrew himself from the vote due to prior paid work as an expert witness in lawsuits against Merck, the manufacturer of both vaccines. If approved by the CDC's acting director, the recommendation will lead to an update in the official childhood vaccine schedule. After the break, we talked to a Turning Point USA contributor and 2018 Winter Olympian about the impact Charlie Kirk had on America. Stay tuned for that.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd, and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
A candlelight vigil was held for Charlie Kirk in Boston yesterday. Thousands of people showed up along with Republican speakers to grieve the loss of the conservative commentator. Here's more.
Mourners of Charlie Kirk congregated at Boston Commons on Thursday, September 18th, for a vigil. The event was publicized on social media and organized by Brian Foley, who ran for Boston City Council this year.
We showed up in numbers and showed these kids that if they want to voice their opinions, that we can make it happen. It's time to stop letting them live in fear in these school shootings, colleges that are unsafe, colleges where they fear that if they speak their mind, they will be persecuted legally, physically, or any other way, and it's time we put it to an end.
Candles were handed out and thousands showed up in attendance. Reps from several different groups and Turning Point chapter leaders spoke at the event.
I was a veteran. Charlie was not a military veteran, but he was a veteran, and he knew what could happen. And like all of us veterans, we don't put our fate first. We put our country's fate first. And that's what Charlie did. And that's what all of us standing here are willing to do.
Imagine a man who never shied away from difficult conversations, a man who stood only with a microphone in his hand. Believing the exchange of ideas is what brings us together. Without dialogue, all we have is anger and violence. Charlie warned us about that. Charlie Kirk embodied that every day of his life and tragically lost his own life because.
Joining us now to discuss Charlie Kirk's legacy is Anthony Watson, Turning Point USA contributor and 2018 Winter Olympian. So first of all, good afternoon to you, Anthony. How was Charlie Kirk like from your interactions with him? Who was he in your eyes?
Charlie Kirk was my employer. He was my boss, but overall, he was my friend, and he was somebody that was an inspiration and a motivator to a lot of people that watched him carry the mantle in a lot of areas that a lot of people nowadays in the public square are a little too timid to do. And everyone's been calling him a hero. They've been calling him a patriot. He's much more than that. Because one thing that Charlie did, he was also a change maker. Because you look at everything he didn't do anything with violence. He didn't do anything with aggression. He went into the public square where everyday Americans have to hear all of the nonsense that the left wants to push, all of these insane ideologies. And it took one person with bravery, courage, and his conviction to his faith in Christ to sit there amongst the people and have conversations that everyday people are forced to have or sometimes avoid having because of the fear of the outcome that's going to happen from that. And he emboldened a lot of people, which is why now when you see him taken away from us, you see all of the reactions and you see everything that now the world, not just in the United States of America, but over in the UK, over in Sweden, over in Japan, over in all these other countries, Australia, that have now felt the impact of that are now forced and with the choice to pick up the mantle and now continue the work that he started.
One of the things that impresses me the most about him is his dedication. He started around 2018, and he just kept going year after year after year. What kept him so motivated in doing what he did?
Well, the one thing that kept him motivated more than anything was his faith in Christ. At the end of the day, he and I were both Christians and believers, and the time that we got to spend together personally, he was a person of very few words, but, when he brought me on, it was to continue and join him in the work that he had already started. And so when people see him now and they see the kind of wave and effect that it's had, it's because of that's the person who he was in private. And Charlie lived out everything that he said, which is why his impact and his loss is felt by a lot of people everywhere. From somebody in 2018 that just had a dream. Even before that, 2012 was when Turning Point started. And his goal was to start the largest grassroots movement of young people to get them motivated to love their country again and to be patriotic and to not be afraid of, pushback or resistance, but to stand firm in the truth. And he led by example, which is now why so many people are now eager to pick up the torch and now carry on his message that he's now left us with.
How would you describe, Anthony, the legacy that Charlie Kirk is leaving behind?
Well, I want to tell everybody this. The only way to describe it is onward, because now that Charlie's gone, nothing stops. If anything, it intensifies. The work that he put in is something that any of us could do because it didn't require any special instructions or anything else. All it took was one man who was burdened with the conviction of where his country was headed to now be the face of a lot of people who were afraid to speak their minds, and now has raised a generation and multiple generations of people that are now banded together. And so his legacy is cemented. His name isn't going anywhere. People are going to be remembering it forever because of the impact that he had of somebody who was willing, in the face of danger, in the face of resistance, in the face of arguing, in the face of name calling, in the face of threats, to continue to stand there and be a vigil himself for a lot of people who were weak in finding their voice, but now have it stronger than ever. So it was an honor to be so close to Charlie. It's an honor to still work for Turning Point USA. And now more than ever, the work that we have is heavy. The work that we have is a lot, but we have a good team of people behind us that have dedicated themselves to continuing his work. And I'm so happy to be a part of that.
And I'm confident as well, even without Charlie, this movement will just keep getting bigger and bigger than ever before. And, this Sunday, TPUSA is holding a memorial service for Charlie as well. And his wife, Erica, President Trump and J.D. Vance and many others are set to speak. We here at NTD will be covering that live on site. Can you give us a preview of this event as to what can we expect from this tribute?
What you can expect is a wave of support. And you can expect so many patriotic Americans from all around the country that are going to be there to show their support, not just for Charlie, but for the president, and for Americans across the world who are all in the same position where they're faced now with the choice of whether or not they're going to pick up where Charlie left off and being speakers and torchbearers of the truth, or if they're going to walk away and just let America almost be destroyed like it was not long ago. What you are going to expect is that there are not just one, but two full-sized arenas that are expected to overflow. The amount of support, the amount of people that I know now are already lined up, ready to get their seat because it's open to the public, is insane. And that's not something that you have when a movement is dead. That's not something that you get when something is dying. That's what's something that happens when the momentum is starting to pick up and gain real traction. We lost a hero, we lost a friend, I lost a mentor, I lost a boss. But at the end of the day, he's not dead. He's more alive in Christ than he is now, more than ever before. And his message continues because the fight that he fought, anyone can be a part of. And that's what you're going to see, a big wave of support and knowing that this movement that we're a part of has only just picked up speed.
And I completely agree with you, Anthony. Can you also tell us what to expect with Erica Kirk now at the helm?
Well, with Erica at the helm, she was Charlie's backbone. You know, the saying is true, behind every great man is a strong woman, because at the end of the day, everything that he had to go through, I'm sure that there were times where, you know, he was tired, he was exhausted, like any great man who's doing a thing that has a task bigger than himself that he has on his shoulders. And Erica now is somebody that is now leading the charge because she was the closest to Charlie. She's the one who's heard all of his thoughts. She's the one that has all of his ideas, and she's the one who birthed this with him to get it to where it is now. So anyone who is to take over and now lead the charge, I can't think of any person better, and there's nobody else that's going to have my unadulterated, my unfiltered and my unyielding loyalty in pushing forward. You know, she's courageous, she's brave, she's been through so much, and she's done all of it with grace, she's done it with poise, and she's done all of it with courage, and that is the kind of leader that I can definitely get behind.
Okay, well, Anthony, well said. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
The White House released a Charlie Kirk tribute video last night. The 3-minute tribute features excerpts from Kirk's speeches, intimate moments with his family, and prayer vigils held across the nation in his memory. It has quickly reached over 3 million views so far. Let's watch.
You thought that my husband's mission was powerful before? You have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife.
Charlie, you didn't deserve it. May God bless your family.
The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
People across the country are gathering, holding memorial services and vigils to honor Charlie Kirk's memory and his message.
To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. I promise I will never let your legacy die. I promise I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen.
A college student's remarks in class have gone viral and are raising eyebrows. Julia Xu, a student at Oberlin College, posted a video online about comments she made in class after conservative leader Charlie Kirk was killed. The remarks came during a discussion in her class called Revolution, Socialism, and Reform in China. Let's take a look at what she said.
My teacher said, I'll give you 5 minutes for hot takes about Charlie Kirk. I was the only person who raised their hand. I said, I've been saying we need to bring back political assassinations. I don't feel bad, and I don't think that everyone deserves the right to free speech. I think some people should be afraid to express their opinion in public.
Xu is facing heavy criticism for her remarks after posting the video last week. On Thursday, a New York Post article said she apologized for, in her words, tactless comments. Xu's TikTok handle on the video is Comrade Julia. Her post has drawn calls for investigation from many conservative leaders and Chinese pro-democracy activists. Here are some details point to Xu's identity, though it's not confirmed. On her school's blog, she says she's from Cheshire, a small town in Connecticut with fewer than 30,000 residents. Back in 2018, a letter was sent to Cheshire's Education Committee by someone with the same first and last name. The author, reportedly a 7th grader at the time, said she was American. She's education timeline matches that of the student who made the controversial comments on Kirk's death. However, NTD has not been able to verify whether they are the same person. Gordon Chang, a veteran China analyst and author, told NTD that if she is a U.S. citizen, the Justice Department should prosecute her for, quote, using an instrumentality of interstate commerce to incite murder.
So this class is literally about revolution in China. All of our readings for this month have been talking about how violent revolution liberated millions of people, it liberated women, and then our reading for that day was specifically about democratic dictatorship, where Mao writes about, yes, people deserve free speech, but there should not be free speech for reactionaries and imperialists and like capitalists and all these people who are enemies of the revolution, because that would reverse the progress that was made.
After the video spread online, she and her school removed many of her works and digital footprints from public view. Screenshots from her blog show the Oberlin student is involved in organizations supporting Free Palestine and radical gender theories. Other Chinese nationals living in the U.S. are also under scrutiny for making inappropriate comments on Kirk's death. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has vowed to revoke visas for foreigners who endorse ideologies against American values. Take a listen.
We shouldn't be bringing people into this country. We should not be giving visas to people who are going to come to the United States and do things like celebrate the murder, the execution, the assassination of a political figure. We should not. And if they're already here, we should be revoking their visa.
Our investigation shows that inside China, state-run media are reporting on Kirk's death in ways that highlight division, chaos, and violence in the U.S. We've also seen a flood of hateful comments on major Chinese social media platforms. We'll continue tracking these online trends and how the Chinese Communist Party is shaping public opinion at home amid tensions with the U.S.
And for more exclusive China news and in-depth analysis, tune in to China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on NTD. Now, in Germany, the trial of 2 alleged Chinese spies is nearing its conclusion. The suspects are accused of leaking hundreds of sensitive EU documents and compiling personal data on 25,000 Chinese dissidents in Europe. Prosecutors also highlighted the persecution of tens of millions of Falun Gong practitioners in China, linking it to this case. NTD international correspondent David Revez has the details.
The Federal Prosecutor's Office presented its closing statement in the case of Jiang Ji, a German citizen of Chinese origin, and Jia Qi-X, a Chinese national, both accused of working for Beijing's intelligence services. While serving as an aide to AfD politician Maximilian Krah, Jiang Ji allegedly leaked more than 500 sensitive EU and party documents to China and compiled personal data on over 25,000 Chinese dissidents in Europe.
In our view, Jiang Ji is involved in an especially serious case of intelligence activity. This is particularly true because he concentrated his espionage efforts on many different targets. He pursued a broad range of interests on behalf of the intelligence service, military surveillance objectives, namely Leipzig-Ali Airport, Chinese dissidents in Germany, as well as developments in the European Parliament and in the party of the Member of Parliament to whom he was assigned.
The court also discussed on Wednesday a potential violation of an EU resolution protecting Falun Gong practitioners and sanctioning perpetrators in China. Falun Gong, or Falun Dafa, is a spiritual practice combining meditation with moral teachings centered on truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. That was practiced by tens of millions in the 1990s. In 1999, the Chinese Communist Party launched a campaign to eradicate the practice, leading to widespread persecution, imprisonment, torture, and forced organ harvesting. A 2024 EU resolution mentions surveillance of Falun Gong practitioners inside and outside China, which includes the collection of personal data. According to Alain Tong of the French Falun Gong Association, there are many cases showing a repeated pattern of persecution following such data collection.
When it comes to families in China, the family members of these practitioners who are abroad often suffer directly from extreme pressure. The Chinese regime frequently takes relatives hostage and blackmails them, forcing practitioners abroad to return to China. We have learned of many cases where officials arrested family members in China, telling them they had discovered that their relative was practicing Falun Gong and that they had the data. Then, they directly harm these family members and call Falun Gong practitioners abroad, demanding they stop practicing and return to China immediately.
The federal prosecutor's office has called for a 7.5-year prison sentence for Zhang Jie and 2 years and 9 months for Jian Qi-X over espionage for the Chinese intelligence service. His lawyer, however, considers the sentence excessive, while prosecutors insist it should be enforced immediately due to flight risk and ongoing suspicion of criminal activity. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Free speech versus hate speech. Where to draw the line? The First Amendment in the spotlight following Jimmy Kimmel's controversial comments about Charlie Kirk's assassin. We have that story when we come back.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you.
On streets across America, young people are homeless, abused, in danger. Covenant House is helping young people with nowhere else to turn. But the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month. You'll help provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. Homeless young people are afraid and alone. Your monthly donation right now will show them they are loved and safe.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the difference you're making in a young person's life. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, MyPillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
After ABC moved to indefinitely suspend Jimmy Kimmel, top House Democrats launched an investigation calling it a free speech issue. President Trump celebrated the suspension, and the FCC chairman called Kimmel's comments deliberately misleading. Here's the latest.
Democrats are launching an investigation into ABC's suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's show, calling the move censorship. They say the government played a role in ABC's decision.
I think if we don't, as a Congress, hold people like Brendan Carr accountable and say that this is not acceptable to go pressuring private companies and journalists, you're going to see the administration do more and more of it. So this is about Congress saying, no, you can't go threaten the media or private corporations.
Republicans say Kimmel's suspension was a private corporation's judgment call.
I just said he's entitled under the First Amendment to say what he wants. But on the other hand, I applaud the move of Disney, his corporate parent, to say, we think this is terrible.
The controversial moment came when Kimmel suggested that MAGA was desperately trying to characterize Charlie Kirk's assassin as not one of them, then went on to joke about Trump's reaction to the news of Kirk's death. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr said the comments were deliberately misleading on a serious issue.
Lots and lots of people were upset. It was not a joke. It was not, making fun or pillaring me or the administration or the president. It was appearing to directly mislead the American public about a significant fact of probably one of the most significant political events we've had in a long time. It's really the most significant political assassination we've seen in a long time.
Before Kimmel's suspension, the FCC chairman said of Disney, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Carr said licensed broadcasters have a responsibility to serve the public interest. President Trump has called for revoking ABC and NBC's licenses for acting as an arm of the Democrat Party. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The Federal Trade Commission is suing Ticketmaster and Live Nation, accusing them of inflating ticket prices and working with scalpers. 7 other states have joined the lawsuit. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
The Federal Trade Commission has filed a lawsuit against Ticketmaster and its parent company, Live Nation. The Beverly Hills-based firms are accused of deceiving artists and fans about ticket resales. The lawsuit, filed in Los Angeles federal court, claims the companies work with scalpers who illegally bought tickets in bulk to boost profits. The FTC says 7 other states have joined the case. The complaint also says that Ticketmaster and Live Nation advertised lower prices, but fans had to pay more at checkout. The companies also claim to have strict limits on ticket sales, but brokers easily bought extra tickets and then resold them for higher prices. The FTC says this has cost fans millions and prevented artists from keeping ticket prices affordable. FTC Chairman Andrew Ferguson said live entertainment should be accessible to families, not priced out of reach. Ticketmaster controls about 80% of major venue ticketing, and consumers spent more than $82 billion on its platform from 2019 to 2024. The FTC and the states are asking the court to impose civil penalties and require Ticketmaster to provide additional monetary relief to consumers. Ticketmaster and Live Nation have not yet responded to requests for comment. Reporting from the city of El Monte, Christina Corona, NTD News.
Coming up, the House passed a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. We've talked to Marissa Street, a good friend of Kirk and CEO of PragerU. Stay with us.
We agree that the people are the sovereign in this country, and we've seen
remembering a life of faith and conviction.
Represented people of all sorts of different political stripes and backgrounds.
Watch our live special coverage of Charlie Kirk's memorial service in Glendale, Arizona, with special guests and more before and after the tribute.
And let us give God the glory.
Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern on NTD.
Did you know Mathis Home has been giving their customers the best styles and value for 65 years? Come celebrate with 65th anniversary savings on everything in the store. This set is a great deal. You get the modern trestle table with 4 comfy side chairs, the complete set for just $8.89. With over 100 dining sets in stock, you're sure to find the one just right for your family and get free delivery. Get your new dining room now with 65th anniversary savings at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. the wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl